This is 5 Minute Feng Shui, episode 61, The 5 Yellow. Welcome to the 5 Minute Feng Shui podcast, where each week I talk about how to move energy and make money. You'll learn how to create a prosperous home and an abundant life using classical Chinese Feng Shui. I'm your host, Katie Weber, publisher of the Red Lotus Letter, Feng Shui Easing for Wealth. Each week, I'll cover Feng Shui topics that can help you improve your life, share inspiring stories, and always end with 3 easy-to-implement Feng Shui tips that you can put to work right away, and usually in about 5 minutes. Now let's get started on the 5 minutes that could change your life. So last week we were talking about holiday feng shui, and that was a lot of fun for me. I love to talk about how to place your Christmas tree and put out your menorah candles and just enjoy the holidays and have a beautiful home. I mean, that is such a wonderful part about the holidays, is being at home and enjoying being in our spaces. But sometimes our spaces can turn against us. And it's not that they're mean to us, it's just that's the way the energy dice roll in a year. And that's why we turn a calendar year, so going from this year, 2019 to 2020, it can make a big difference in your life. All of a sudden, things can go from being really great to the bottom falls out. And this is why I was really drawn to classical Chinese Feng Shui, is because this time element about Feng Shui really explained a lot about why things could be so different from one year to the next. But it also allows for us to make changes to handle those energies, so we're not just rolling the cosmic dice year in and year out and just have to sit and wait and see what happens. Instead, we know what's going to happen. We can see in our crystal ball of where the energies are flying and how they're going to change. And it can make all the difference in being prepared for the year, being ready for problems, being ready for opportunity, being able to tap into good fortune when it comes, and to keep difficulties from reaching us. And that is what I believe is so important. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, this is kind of some fear mongering about feng shui and that kind of thing. And I don't really think so. That's not the way I look at it. It's like saying because they put oxygen masks on a plane, that means that they're going to crash. No, it just means that in the event that a window breaks open or something happens like that, you lose oxygen, you have that there as a way to help you while they get the plane on the ground. And that's how I look at understanding the difficulties in a particular coming year. It's not all goodness and light. We know that. I mean, we have to live in reality, even in feng shui, that there's good stuff and there's great stuff, but there's also some difficulties and dilemmas. And I want to help protect you about that. So if I can tell you, hey, you're traveling down, Elm Street and Oak Street. Well, Elm Street's really great this year, and it has a brand new bridge, and the views are really pretty. But Oak Street has got a giant sinkhole, and if you drive down Oak Street, you're gonna drive right into it. Wouldn't you want to know that? I know I do. And so this is why, I like to practice classical feng shui. I like to be prepared. I'm just one of those people. I like to be prepared. I like to anticipate. I like to know what's coming, good and bad. So this is one advantage that you have with classical feng shui, is being able to see what's coming down the road. Now, what is coming down the road every year for us is a mixture of positive and beneficial energies and some negative ones. Now, just because I say that there's some negative ones, that doesn't mean that means it's fate and destiny that you're going to go driving off a cliff. No, not at all. In fact, many of the energies can be handled, and every energy, whether it's good or bad, has both a good and a negative and a positive aspect to it. So there are some benefits to some energies, and I know I've covered this earlier in the 7-star a few weeks ago. I talked about the 7-star and how you can use it, especially in the year 2020 coming up. So let's talk about the 5 yellow. And the 5 yellow has some concern for me this year because it is falling in the east corner in 2020. And this is the corner of the oldest sun and also the corner of the family and family relationships. So that really concerns me. And it's also the sector of health. So I really want to look at how that 5 yellow, what it's all about, and help you to understand what it's about, and also let you know about the 2020 and what's coming up about it. But really, I want to talk about the 5 yellow so you know year in, year out, what you can expect, what kind of energy it is. So let's start with some of the basics. Like, for instance, the 5 yellow is often called the bone breaker because it can actually inflict major injury, like a broken bone. In fact, it happened to my mother. The 5 yellow came to her front door and she broke her leg and had to have surgery. Well, I mean, a month later, not even 6 weeks, she's up and walking around, and this is when she was 77. I mean, she's tough as nails. It doesn't take much to keep her from getting back up and running again. So that's really terrific. But the 5 yellow is an earth affliction, and that means that its worst effect is that it can create severe illness, and this can impact your ability to make a living or having to spend excess amounts to treat your injuries or your health, money going for MRIs or who knows what. We always hear that your health is your wealth, and it really is true, because sometimes when you don't have health, it takes your wealth to get your health back, right? I mean, if you've been to the doctor recently, you know what I'm talking about. Those doctor bills run really high. So it's always important that you know where that 5 yellow is going to, where it's moving to. And in 2019, women hosted the 5 yellow. So women were, I've heard from so many women that have just had struggles. And in fact, my own mother, this year has been a difficult year in the regard that I've had to help my mother with her health problems. So even if the 5 yellow is difficult for you, it might not be difficult for you. It might be difficult for someone that you're dealing with. So, for instance, and I know this is probably not making sense. You're going, "What are you saying, Katie?" Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the 5 yellow being in the sector of women means that women are going to be dealing with illness and injury, and that's what I dealt with. Not for me, though, but for my mother. I had to help her when she broke her hip. This year, she was in the hospital with all kinds of stomach problems. She ended up breaking her hip back in the hospital again, and then in a nursing home, and then back out of the nursing home. So I have spent, oh my gosh, so much time running back and forth to hospitals and doctor's appointments, and running her up and down the highway from where we live up to Austin to see specialists and all kinds of stuff. So I've spent my year, even though it wasn't me with the health problems, I was dealing with health problems. So that is one way that it can show up. So it's really important that you know where that energy is. So that's why it's so important to be able to diagram your house and be able to lay it out like with a tic-tac-toe grid. And that's called the Shu Square. And it's basically dividing your house into 9 equal squares, and then understanding where each of those squares, which of those corners fall, and finding out where the north, south, east, west corners, and so on. Find out exactly where all those corners are, because in 2020, this 5 yellow is moving from the southwest in 2019, where women were handling it, to the east. And this means that this is falling where families are, the family relationship, and also the oldest son, and the feet. So there could be broken feet, a broken ankle, foot surgery, any number, even lower leg breaks, that kind of thing. There could be all kinds of health problems also associated because the foot really is, if you follow Chinese acupuncture, every body and every organ or every part of your body can be found in the foot, by acupuncture, by reflexology, and so on. Anyhow, now in 2021, the 5 yellow will fly to the southeast. But where do you need to be worried about it? Obviously, you need to be worried wherever it falls, because we don't want to activate it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But we also want to be very aware of when that 5 yellow moves and it falls at our front door or our bedroom. Then there's a secondary part to that. So, and I'll get that in just a moment. The front door is the point of all energy for your home. So if the point of all energy is being influenced by the 5 yellow, then you're dealing with, like me, this is my front door, Southwest. This year in 2019, I've dealt with illness and illness for women. That my mom, the matriarch of the family, sure enough, that's exactly what I dealt with. And in the East, we might be dealing with family members. We might be dealing with our sons. I often worry about sons, especially oldest sons, sons that do sports, extreme sports, ride motorcycles, ride bicycles, drive cars, learning to drive cars. Just young men in general are more prone to being hurt. And that just like raises my little radar where it's just very alert. And I have a son, so that makes me extra nervous as a mom. I'm talking to you not just as a feng shui consultant, but also as a mom. So back to what I was saying. So whenever that star flies and it comes to your front door, we really want to pay close attention there. This is an area, and I'm going to talk about how you can handle it. You also want to pay very close attention if it falls in your bedroom. Now, if it falls in your bedroom, that means that you are open to that energy day and night. And in particularly at night when you're most vulnerable and sleeping in it. So the more time you spend in a room wherever the 5 yellow flies, that's the more it can work on you. So we really like to pay really close attention to find out what's going on in that corner where the 5 yellow flies. So make sure that you understand what's happening in the east corner of your house. Is this the garage? Is it a bathroom? If it is, great. If it's the garage, great. If it's the laundry room, terrific. We love that. If it's a room where, let's say, your elderly parent is sleeping, that's going to be a problem. We're going to really want to pay close attention to that. It's where your young infant is sleeping, or a child, or yourself. We're going to want to pay close attention. Also want to pay close attention if this is your kitchen, especially if you have a gas stove, will actually exacerbate that 5 yellow because it is created by fire. So having actual like a gas stove or a fireplace is another concern if we have a fireplace. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to handle these things. But these are the areas where you're really going to want to pay close attention because you're more likely to have some hardship if the 5 yellow flies to a sector of your home where you have any kind of flame, like a water heater, a gas stove, a kitchen, a fireplace, or even your barbecue. We move our barbecue around. It's on wheels, and we will move it around just so that we can avoid that 5 yellow. Now, if you have a 5 yellow in any of these areas of your home, it's just not a good time to do anything risky or dangerous like motocross or skydiving or doing anything really risky with your investments. When it comes to doing rough sports like football or skydiving, anything like that, they could cause serious injuries. And I'm talking serious broken bones, spinal problems, a broken neck, paralysis. I'm thinking serious stuff, you guys. This could be it can be very dangerous. There's rough sports involved. It's also true for children's rooms. So if your kids have a room in this corner of the house, you're going to want to make sure that they're very safe. They wear their bike helmets. Just don't take any sort of shortcuts wherever safety is concerned. Now, the 5 yellow can also cause problems with money too. This means that in addition to problems with health, you also want to make sure you keep a very close eye on your finances, especially if this is your bedroom or this is your front door. It's another thing to be thinking about. Now, this is you're going to want to be very careful at work, especially if there's any kind of talk about layoffs. Also, if there's anyone in your home that is very sick or old or very young, someone who's pregnant, we want to move them out of those bedrooms. This is not the year to take a hot stock tip from your brother-in-law unless he's given them to you in the past, and don't risk losing anything more than you can afford to lose. You just don't want to take risks right now. Now, this isn't to say that, absolutely, this is going to be devastating. It doesn't have to be devastating. I mean, this year the 5 yellow wasn't devastating for me, and it was right at my front door, but it was hard for me. I didn't get to work on things that I wanted to work on this year. I kept my business going, and which is great. And one of the reasons why I love having a business is because when I have situations like this year where I needed to be there for my mom a lot, that meant that I could take the time off. I just asked myself if I will allow myself to let me take the day off, and I always say yes. Anyway, so that's a nice thing, but that's not always the case for people with jobs. So it's a concern though. We want to be able to take care of our family members. I also want to talk about another important, very important family member that is very susceptible to the 5 yellow. And that is our fur family. If you've got a cat or a dog or even a fish, a parakeet, any kind of pet, they're very susceptible to those energies in our home, especially when they are negative. So if you've got a pet, try to keep them out of that 5 yellow energy. And I'm going to say this, and I know it's really sad, but sometimes pets will take on an energy for us, and and we sometimes lose them. And I've seen that happen in my own life, and also in the lives of my clients. And we've lost, family members, our pet family, and they are family. And but you have to really watch them closely. If you have any kind of health concern or a family member with a health concern, and they're in the corner where the 5 yellow flies, take it seriously. Get it checked out right away, even if it's a funny lump or a bump. It turns out a good family friend of ours went to go check, had found a lump in her breast, and went to the doctor, and he checked, and the lump was benign. And he said, "Oh, it's not really a problem at all." But they went ahead and did this really intensive mammography on her. And this is just the past couple of months, or actually past month. This just happened. I mean, it just happened so fast. It just like my head was swimming, And in the process of doing this mammography on both breasts, they found an even smaller little lesion in the other breast. And they said, we're just going to go in and take out both bumps and just, have them checked. Well, the one that she went in for originally was benign, but this other one was a very aggressive form of cancer, so aggressive that they recommended that she have both breasts removed. And she just did that just right before this Thanksgiving this year. And so she had both her breasts removed and reconstructive surgery, just bam, 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 and found out that she had this lump and bump and had the surgery and everything. I mean, in a matter of like 6 weeks. I mean, it was so fast. And that's how things can happen. And this is not to scare you, but just to underline the point that, if you have anything that comes up, especially if this is your front door or your bedroom where that 5 yellow is, get it checked out right away. Don't dismiss yourself. We always do that. Oh, it's something. It's just weird. It'll go away. No, go get it checked. It's really important that you do that. If you have family members who are pregnant, really try to steer them out of that corner of the bedroom if you can at all. That will be so helpful. Now, in 2020, rabbit zodiac signs and the Chinese zodiacs are really going to need to be careful too, because there's a real possibility of some health concerns coming up for them. So in 2020, it flies to the east. In 2021, it moves to the southeast. And then in 2022, it's smack in the middle. So yay, we got that going for us in 2022. So let's talk about these important tips about the 5 yellow. It's an earth affliction, and it occupies 45 degrees of the compass. So it's got a pretty good area of space that it occupies. And this is it's called the 5 yellow because its color is yellow, and it's associated with the earth affliction. It's much more powerful when it's located in important areas like the front door, an office, if you have an home office, your bedroom, or wherever there's fire, like the kitchen, the fireplace, a gas water heater, anywhere where there's an actual flame. The fire can bring very devastating financial and health problems like bankruptcy, broken bones, accidents, cancer. Severe problems can happen when this affliction isn't addressed. So we always want to address that. And I'm going to talk about how to do that. Even working in the sector where the 5 yellow is located, like in opening and closing your front door and being active in a room where the 5 yellow is enough to activate it, and we don't want to do that. So for instance, this year I have really not paid much attention to my front door. We try to come in through the rear of our house as much as possible so that we're not activating that 5 yellow. I don't turn on the lights around there at the front of the house, right at the front door, if I can get away with it. And so we could, because I don't want to activate it. Now, it's important to remember that fire activates the 5 yellow. So we really want to avoid all fire related elements like red colors, actual flames such as candles or fireplaces. If this were your fireplace is, I simply wouldn't use it. Yeah, and trust me, I've walked that walk. I've had fireplaces and not used them because of the 5 yellow. So we want to avoid any kind of red colors, candles, flames, and fire elements wherever the 5 yellow flies. Now, how do we handle it? Let's talk about how to remedy the 5 yellow. The remedy for the 5 yellow is based on that 5 element theory that underlines all of feng shui. And that means to exhaust earth energy, we're going to want to add metal, because think about how we go and do mining, right? To get gold, we go into a mountain and we extract it out. So we exhaust the earth by pulling the metal out of it. So adding metal wherever the 5 yellow is will help drain that 5 yellow. So there's a couple of really good things that you can use to handle this. One thing that I always recommend, I don't recommend a whole lot of real specialty type items for feng shui. You've got to get this certain god riding on a monkey or whatever. I don't do a lot of that, but there is a couple of things that I think everyone should have, which is one is an all metal feng shui wind chime that's made of all brass, a 5 element pagoda. And the 5 element pagoda is exactly for the 5 yellow, and you put dirt inside of it from that sector of the house. You can do it by, sweeping that area of your home and putting whatever you collect from the vacuum or in your dustpan and put that into the 5 element pagoda. The pagodas have a sealable and resealable top, and you can reuse them year after year. You don't have to throw them away. They're not an inexpensive thing, but I do recommend those, and I also recommend a brass rouleau. Those 3 things are so important. Now, are there other ways that you can handle the 5 yellow? Yes. My personal favorite is moving metal, and this can be like a pendulum clock, wind chimes, a ceiling fan. If you've got a bedroom that's in the east, I'd put the ceiling fan on low and let it go all year long. If it's in your living room, I'd hang a pendulum clock. You can get them at Walmart. I bought one at Walmart years ago, and that's actually how it kicked off my feng shui career of all things. But that's another story. But a pendulum clock, that swinging medallion, that pendulum moving all is a cutting kind of energy, and it wears down the 5 yellow. So we like that. So add a wind chime next to your front door if that's where the 5 yellow is. Now, it's also helpful if you've got a bathroom in this corner. If you've got a bathroom or a very large closet, keep that door closed. That bathroom will help drain the 5 yellow. If you have a large closet, it will help kind of lock up that energy. So that's a real plus. We want to avoid activating the 5 yellow. So that's, having red colors and lights in that sector. We really want to avoid doing that. We also don't want to go doing renovations in that area or big landscaping projects. We don't want to dig in wherever the 5 yellow is. So if the 5 yellow is outside of, let's say you have an east living room, and just outside you have a garden right there, that corner of the yard is not the yard to go digging around in if you can avoid it. Yes, you can put in some pansies or little flowers and stuff like that, but if you're ripping out trees or ripping out shrubs, leave it for another time. Or if you want to do a new patio project, wait for another year when it's more positive. If you have a closet in this sector, that's great. Just keep it closed, and that will help you. Always try to add, if you can get a 5-element pagoda, you can find them on Amazon. They're really terrific. And at all costs, avoid having any kind of lighted candle, as this will fully activate the 5-yellow. I think you're gonna have a much better year if you can protect yourself that way. If this is where your bedroom is located, white is your color to go for. White, green, or brown. The earth is another way to exhaust, the wood energy of green and brown colors will help to exhaust that. You can also use the three lucky bamboo in a glass vase of pebbles and water, and that's another way to exhaust the 5-yellow. And that's a really good remedy if you have a home office there, or at the front door, or if it's in your living room. Now, what if the kitchen has the 5-yellow? What if this is where the sector is where I'm having to deal with this year? Well, it's a tricky situation. Now, if you have an electric stove, that's fine. That's not a problem. But if you have a gas stove, every time you turn it on, you could be activating that 5-yellow. So for this reason, it's really helpful if you add a large vase of water, or like a tabletop fountain nearby. Even one of those tabletop water dispenser or the countertop water dispensers, that's really helpful for the 5-yellow. These have hopefully given you some ideas and thoughts about the 5-yellow. And if you think back, you can actually look back to years where you've had injuries and accidents and that type of thing. And many times it's because the 5-yellow either came there for the year or hit there on the monthly, when the month, we have monthly changes of feng shui, and maybe the month happened. I've seen it happen so many times through the years with cancer, broken bones, serious accidents. So I really want to spare you and your family that, and that includes your pets. Anyhow, well, let's talk about those 3 tips I always want to leave you with. So tip number 1, pay closest attention to the 5-yellow if it falls in your bedroom or any bedroom and the front door. The more time you spend in a particular room, the more the 5-yellow can work on you. Number 2, how to remedy the 5-yellow, add moving metal, a pendulum clock, a ceiling fan. Have something that's moving at all times in that sector, and that will wear down that energy. Tip number 3, use brown, green, and white colors. If the 5-yellow is in your bedroom, put green sheets on the bed, have green and brown colors, or go with all white in your bedroom as a protector, and add some metal accents in your bedroom. I hope this has been helpful for you. Doesn't scare you, but just gives you a little bit of a heads up about how to protect yourself and your family. And remember, if there's anything that comes up, if the 5-yellow is at your front door or your bedroom, if anything comes up with your health, please promise me you'll get it checked out right away. And please be careful with finances and don't do any big risky maneuvers if the 5-yellow is in your bedroom or at your front door. It's just a good year to play it really safe, and then you can get a little bit more exciting when the year passes. All right, well, thanks for being with me. If you have any questions about the 5-yellow or need more information, be sure to check out my website. Check the search function. When you go to redlotusletter.com, the search feature is on the right, and I have all kinds of content and information. And be sure to check out my article at redlotusletter.com/rat for all the information about the year of the rat and what you can expect for 2020, including my 2020 forecast, the success pack, that will tell you exactly everything that you need to know for your home and your zodiac sign. All right, I'm signing off, and I'll talk to you again on the next episode of 5-Minute Feng Shui. Thanks for listening to 5-Minute Feng Shui today. The year of the rat is coming, and I want to share with you where you can find money, love, and opportunity in 2020. And it's all in my annual Feng Shui forecast, the Success Pack. You get a full year of in-depth feng shui details about how to use the energy of the year for success and prosperity. That's because every year we're showered with a Roman candle of opportunities for money, abundance, love, and opportunity. You just have to know where they are. And my Year of the Rat Feng Shui Success Pack includes all the details for every house and every zodiac sign. You also get this year's lucky clothing, handbag, and wallet colors. So be sure to go to redlotusletter.com/rat for all the details on the Year of the Rat and how to make this year the year of your dreams.